When empathy returns and fights the narcissist, a great war will happen. Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm really excited to have you here today because we're diving into something truly fascinating and intense. It's a topic that many people have strong opinions about, and whether you've experienced it firsthand or are just curious about it, I think this conversation will resonate with a lot of you. Today, we're going to explore a dramatic and symbolic idea: when empathy returns and fights the narcissist, a great war will happen. Now, what do I mean by that? You might be wondering how something as gentle and compassionate as empathy can ever be in a war with something like narcissism. But if we look deeper, we'll see how these two forces are inherently at odds with one another. Narcissism, in its purest form, thrives on control, manipulation, and the suppression of the feelings and needs of others. It's a force that pushes other people down to elevate itself. Empathy, on the other hand, is about connection, understanding, and valuing the emotional experiences of others. When empathy confronts narcissism, it's not just a clash of personalities. It's a battle of opposing forces that can lead to an emotional, psychological, and even spiritual war within relationships and within ourselves. So today, let's unravel this conflict. Let's explore what happens when empathy, perhaps long buried or suppressed in a relationship or an individual, finally rises up to confront narcissism head-on. Trust me, this is going to be a journey filled with tension, but also with hope, because empathy is, after all, one of the most powerful tools we have for healing and for change. Let's get into it. First, we need to understand the nature of narcissism in all its complexity. Narcissists often operate from a place of deep insecurity, although on the surface, they seem to be overflowing with self-confidence. They construct a world where they are always the center, the main character in a story that revolves around their needs, desires, and accomplishments. But this world is a fragile one, built on manipulation, control, and an inflated sense of self-importance. Narcissists often feed on the attention and admiration of others, and they need that validation to maintain their sense of superiority. But what's crucial to understand here is that narcissists suppress empathy, not just in others but also within themselves. They are often unable or unwilling to understand the emotional experiences of those around them. Why? Because empathy, by its very nature, demands that you recognize other people's feelings, and narcissists don't want to do that. To them, acknowledging someone else's emotional reality would be to admit that they are not the only ones who matter. It would threaten the bubble of superiority they've created for themselves. Now, imagine what happens when empathy enters the scene, either in the form of a person who is no longer willing to be manipulated or within the narcissist themselves. As they are forced to confront the reality of their behavior, empathy has the power to pierce through the veil of self-deception that narcissists often live behind. It challenges their narrative, saying, "Wait a minute. What about the feelings of the people around you? What about the hurt you've caused?" This is where the battle begins. Empathy, when it returns, is like a dormant force waking up after being silenced for too long. In many cases, people who are involved with narcissists, whether romantically, in family dynamics, or even in professional settings, have suppressed their empathy to survive. They've allowed the narcissist to dominate, perhaps out of fear, obligation, or because they've been emotionally manipulated to think they deserve the treatment they're receiving. But empathy doesn't disappear completely. It's always there, waiting. And when it finally returns, when a person says, "Enough is enough, I deserve to be seen and heard," that's when the real war begins. This war is not just an external one, between two people or between one person and their narcissistic environment. It's also internal. For many people, the battle is within themselves. It's the struggle to reclaim their own emotional truth after years of being gaslit or manipulated into doubting their own feelings. Empathy comes back like a tidal wave, reminding them that their pain, their joy, their needs matter. But it's not an easy return. It's often accompanied by anger, frustration, and the realization of just how much has been lost or sacrificed to feed the narcissist's ego. On the other side of this battlefield, the narcissist sees empathy as a threat. It's an attack on the carefully constructed world where their needs are paramount. When empathy returns, the narcissist may react with aggression, denial, or even more manipulation. They might double down on their tactics, gaslighting the person who dares to feel, or they might retreat into a victim mentality, playing on the empathy of others to regain control. It's a vicious cycle, and the narcissist will fight tooth and nail to maintain their dominance. But the thing is, empathy is a force of nature. Once it awakens, it's hard to put back to sleep. When someone who has been suppressed for so long begins to embrace their empathy again, they find strength they didn't know they had. They start to see the cracks in the narcissist's facade. They begin to realize that they deserve better, that they don't have to live in a world where someone else's needs always come first. And this realization can be revolutionary. It's the turning point in the war. Of course, this war is not without its casualties. Relationships with narcissists are often deeply intertwined with emotions, history, and sometimes even love. Walking away, or standing up to a narcissist, can feel like an immense personal loss. But empathy gives people the courage to face that loss, to say, "This isn't healthy. This isn't what I deserve." And when that happens, when empathy truly fights back, the narcissist's power begins to crumble. Now, not all narcissists are overtly malicious. Some might even be unaware of the extent of their behavior. But even in these cases, empathy is disruptive. It forces the narcissist to confront a reality they've been avoiding, the reality that other people's feelings matter just as much as their own. Some narcissists might resist this revelation at all costs, unable to handle the idea that they are not the center of the universe. Others, though rare, might begin to see the truth of their behavior, and in these cases, empathy might actually become a tool for healing. Not just for the person reclaiming it, but for the narcissist as well. However, this is a long and difficult road, and true change in a narcissist is exceedingly rare without deep self-awareness and a willingness to confront painful truths. The great war between empathy and narcissism is ultimately about freedom. It's about the freedom to feel, to express, to exist without being dominated by someone else's needs or insecurities. It's about reclaiming your emotional space and refusing to be a pawn in someone else's game. But make no mistake, it's a war that requires strength, courage, and resilience. Empathy is often seen as soft, as passive, but in reality, it's one of the most powerful forces we possess as humans. It connects us, grounds us, and gives us the ability to understand and heal. When empathy fights the narcissist, it's a battle for authenticity. It's a fight to reclaim one's true self after being buried under layers of manipulation and emotional suppression. For some, this fight will mean walking away from the narcissist entirely, choosing to protect their own well-being over maintaining a toxic relationship. For others, it might mean setting firm boundaries, learning how to navigate the narcissist's behavior without being consumed by it. Either way, it's a fight worth engaging in because the alternative, living a life dictated by someone else's narcissistic needs, is far more destructive in the long run. And here's the thing, empathy has the upper hand in this battle. Narcissism is inherently self-limiting. It isolates, it controls, but it cannot connect. It cannot genuinely love or understand others. Empathy, on the other hand, is boundless. It creates connections, fosters understanding, and allows for true emotional freedom. When empathy returns to fight the narcissist, it brings with it the power to not just survive but to thrive beyond the narcissist's control. So, as we wrap up today, I want to remind you that this war between empathy and narcissism is not just theoretical. It plays out in real lives. In real relationships, every day. If you've found yourself in a battle like this, know that you are not alone, and that reclaiming your empathy, your emotional truth, is an act of incredible strength. You have the power to change the narrative, to stop the cycle, and to choose yourself over the narcissist's manipulation. Thank you so much for watching and for engaging with this important discussion. If this resonated with you, please share your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. Your stories matter, and they can help others who are going through similar struggles. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. Take care, stay strong, and remember, empathy, when embraced fully, is unstoppable. See you in the next video.